Welcome to the Leaders by Head and Heart series, Season 2. Today we receive Spandana Palaypu. Spandana is the founder and CEO of ZoEasy, a UAE-based startup which educates and matches migrant blue-collar job seekers. She is also the vice curator of Global Shapers Dubai World Economic Forum. Spandana is a Forbes 30 Under 30 awardee and Credit Suisse Leads 2030 winner, speaker and ambassadors at One Young World and Enterprise for Peace Scholar with the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Welcome, Spandana.
Thank you so much for having me.
So the first question will be related to ZoEasy. It's a UAE-based startup which educates and matches migrant blue-collar job seekers to best fit validated employers using ethical and transparent hiring processes. What are the main challenges being a female leader? Thank you.
Thank you. So just to give you a little bit of background actually on ZoEasy before jumping into the female leader aspect of things. So I actually started this when I was 20 years old. I just moved back from university, was kind of at a crossroads as to whether I should take up employment, go into consulting and then eventually start a social enterprise or start working on this idea. And, as a person, though I was born in India, I've been brought up in Dubai all my life. And in the process, you get to interact with so many people from so many different backgrounds. There's so much diversity over here. And one of the things I used to do most is actually interact with people from the blue collar community, because the blue collar community makes up almost 4 million people in the UAE. That's about 43% of the population. So I would regularly speak to these people, and out of curiosity, I used to ask them, why they decided to come to the UAE, why they decided to move out here. And many people come here, in search of economic empowerment, in search of being able to provide a better life for themselves and their families. But unfortunately, what happens is, there's this network of middlemen in their home countries that kind of sells them a dream, which is very, very different to what reality is. And unfortunately, these middlemen end up exposing these job seekers to a lot of fraud and exploitation, with many job seekers actually paying almost $3,000, to take up employment that isn't in line with what they're looking for. And so that was kind of the push behind, this whole idea. I met somebody that was my age, and unfortunately, she didn't have access to the same kind of opportunities that I did. And me as a person, I have access to so many different things because of the kind of education and the kind of background that my parents have given me. But somebody who is practically the same as I am doesn't have access to the same kind of opportunities. And she's here, she's struggling, and she's doing her best to be able to support herself and her family. And, that was kind of the point of time when I realized that, this is something that it happens at the source. Once people come here, you can't do much about it, but it's something that happens at the source. So, it's important to kind of create a platform where we can match job seekers to employers, because employers are also looking for good people. So why not match good employers and good job seekers together? And that's kind of where this idea stemmed from. But being a female leader, I've been very lucky, I feel, because I haven't experienced as many challenges as one normally would. Yeah. But I would definitely say that, being young and being a woman can sometimes also not work in your favor. There have been instances where, when I was looking for investment or talking to different stakeholders, you're not taken seriously sometimes. And there can be that whole aspect of imposter syndrome, essentially, because generally in this part of the world, and also in the field of entrepreneurship in general, there are definitely more male entrepreneurs than there are female entrepreneurs. And if you look at the Middle East as a region, in the Middle East specifically, there aren't many female entrepreneurs. I'm very happy to see that it's now growing and it is going up. But when I first started the business in 2016, you know, in the UAE, the startup ecosystem was just beginning. Things were just starting to happen. There was no demarcation between a social enterprise and a for-profit startup. And more than anything, there weren't as many female entrepreneurs, that too young female entrepreneurs within the space. So there was definitely a little bit of, there was a little bit of doubt, especially when I used to talk to employers to bring them on board, or there were some investors who had questioned my ability because I'm a woman,
Yes.
that can happen. That can definitely happen. You are underestimated, but that's only a handful of people. I have to say, like I said, I've been very lucky because there were also a lot of people who actually believed in the idea and believed in my competency and capability. And I think one thing that really helps push you as a person is if you have like a very strong family backing as well. So for me, my parents were the ones that really believed in me. They don't see the difference between a boy and girl. Like both my mother and father have tried to give me the best education and access to the best resources possible. And when I went to them with this idea, they initially, instead of saying no, why don't you go and pursue a job instead, they both were actually very encouraging, and they told me, okay, sit down, put down a budget, go through the plan, talk to us, let's see if this is something that's viable, and then go and start researching, start talking to people. And they even told me, you're gonna get backlash, it's not gonna be easy, but just keep moving ahead like a train. That's what they told me to do. Just go ahead like a train, and don't let, there will be some negativity that comes. There will be some people who will tell you that, this isn't going to work. But try to, if it's constructive criticism, listen and see how to improve the idea. But if it's criticism that isn't going to make a difference to your business, just listen to it from this year and let it go from this year. Just focus on what you have to do and keep moving forward.
Thanks, Spandana, for sharing the why also behind ZoEasy and your vision being a female leader in UAE. My second question will be related more about your position and title with Vice Curator in Global Shapers in Dubai, because you initiate several hubs, educations, and employment initiatives. Perhaps you can give some example of this achievement to inspire young people and others who watch this interview. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I actually joined the Global Shapers community in 2019. It was shortly after becoming a One Young World ambassador, actually. I met a Global Shaper in Amsterdam, and she was the one that told me about this community and the kind of difference that you can drive. And the Global Shapers community follows the same key pillars of the WEF. So it focuses on education and employment. It focuses on equity and inclusion, and it focuses on the environment. So these are three areas which I'm also very passionate about as a person. And so when I came back to Dubai, I reached out to the curator at the time, and then ended up joining the community. And actually, one of the first projects that I worked on went on to become the flagship project of Dubai Hub. So the person who started that actually really inspired me, because he had established ties with one of the biggest NGOs in the region, with Abdullah Al-Ghurer's Foundation for Education. And we actually delivered our first workshop for their scholarship students, which focused on project management, on how to raise funding, and basically equipping them with practical skills to be able to navigate the work, like future work, So whatever you learn in a classroom is always going to be different to actually being out and, working in a company or working in a different environment. So being able to deliver that workshop and to be able to help these students really understand the kind of skill sets they require to be able to go out into the workforce and then make a difference in the workforce was what really inspired me to keep continuing with it. And last year, I ended up becoming the vice curator. So I was elected as the vice curator of the hub. And one of the main mandates that we had was to actually increase the number of projects across all our different pillars. So from having two to three projects within the hub, we were actually able to bring it to about 10 projects as a whole, working on mental health, working on equity and inclusion, working on education and employment. And actually this year, in response to the pandemic, me and a fellow global shaper, we launched another education-based initiative, which focuses on helping upskill underprivileged people within the MENA region, especially those in the blue-collar community and women, because this is a time when, unfortunately, there was a lot of many people were either sent on unpaid leave or were let go due to the pandemic, especially if you look at the hospitality industry, the construction industry, the airline industry. There were many people that were unfortunately let go. So what we thought of doing was, why not equip these people with different skill sets or with soft skills so that they can diversify their skill set and maybe start exploring other opportunities. And we just did the first workshop as a pilot, where it was a workshop on Canva and graphic designing and learning how to improve that skill set. And we were actually surprised to see that in 2 days, we had almost 160 girls registering from different parts of the world. So we were very, very excited about that. And that now we're spearheading that at the moment. We've done one on Canva, we've done one on financial literacy. Now we're going to be doing one on work readiness and interviewing. So hopefully we can continue to see this project grow.
Excellent, Spandana. Thanks for sharing all this great initiative. I guess that education is also obviously a key pillar for the youth, and without education, it's hard to do significant things like you do, Spandana. So we're already arriving at the end of these sessions. At the end, we asking each guest speaker to pick 3 words of their choice and to explain their choice.
Sure, absolutely. So I would say my first word would be empathy, especially in the kind of time that we're in. I think being empathetic is very, very important. Being empathetic towards your peers, to the people that are, that may be from a different socioeconomic background, but just be empathetic towards anybody that you meet, because you don't know what that someone is going through at that point. So try to be as empathetic as possible. The second one would be perseverance. And the reason why I pick perseverance is because no matter what you do, there will be ups and downs. It's life. That's how it is. You just have to keep moving forward and focusing on achieving your goal. So keep persevering, no matter what you're doing. And then finally, I would say openness. And openness can mean different things. For me, openness basically means being open-minded and willingness to learn more than anything. So continue to develop yourself and continue to be open to different perspectives and understanding different values. So those, I think, would be my 3 main words.
Thanks for sharing these 3 keywords: openness, empathy, and perseverance. I guess that I do also agree with you, and it makes sense, especially during that challenging time that we all go together. So thanks, Spandana, again for your time and for this inspiring interview today. And I wish you a nice day and all the best with your project. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.